Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Let's Paint a Mini. So I've got a very special episode coming today. What we're going to try to do, this is, again, I want to stress, this is a try, it's going to be an attempt, but we're going to try to make the Doom Slayer. So what I actually did was I went to heroforge.com and you can actually custom make your own miniatures, and you can actually take like different parts of different like limbs and different poses, different armor pieces, different weapons and all that stuff, and you can make your own custom miniatures like this. Now, fair warning, it is kind of expensive, so if you really want to do this, be prepared to spend some money. But this was something that I really wanted to do because I really, really love Doom a lot. So I thought that it would be really cool to try and make the Doom Slayer. I'll also put in the description for the below for this video, I'll put all the different pieces that I used to make this particular miniature. So that way, if you want to recreate him exactly as he is here, then you can do that. Okay, but the first thing that I did was I did just a base coat of pure black, which is what I do for most of my miniatures, and I do tend to start with all of the skin. Now, with this particular miniature, you'll realize that this maybe violates the canon a little bit, but you know, I think Quake Champions does this too, so I'm not super worried about it. But you can see his face. His face is shown through this helmet. I felt like this helmet looked the most like his helmet that he has in the actual game. The only thing is that you can actually see his face behind, well, I mean, it looks like here he's not really wearing a visor, but yeah, I don't know, maybe he's just got his visor up or something like that, and he's able to see out. And again, you can see his face in Quake Champions, so maybe this doesn't violate the canon too much. But yeah, I am going to start with his face. So what I'm going to do is I imagine him being a pretty tan fellow, so I am going to use just my handy-dandy tanned skin color here. I think that that will be just fine, and we're just going to use that and get some paint out. There we go. Okay. I don't think that I need very much, so I'll just use my medium Reaper round brush here. It's just a decent little brush here. It's not too big, not too small, but I think that'll be fine. I think I'm going to go ahead and do my usual thing of kind of going around the eyes a little bit, and then, you know, just leaving a little bit of black around the eyes, and that way, when I do the white for the eyes, there'll be a little bit of a contrast. Alright, so there we go. I think that that's enough for the face right there. I think that that will be fine. Now, normally I think that I would dry brush like a tan highlight or something like that over it, but I honestly don't think the face is like prominent enough to really warrant that, so I think that we'll be fine with just the way it is. Alright, and I think that the next thing that I want to do is I kind of want to just generally brighten up all the armor a little bit, and we're going to kind of like work our way out. So what I'm going to take is a really nice dark green color here. This is pine green. The label is faded off here. You can kind of see it, but we're doing pine green. This is just a very, very dark green color, and we're going to use this to just kind of like dry brush the whole, most of the miniature with this color, and that will kind of like help to bring out some of the details, but there's also going to be some pieces where we just kind of want to keep them you know, nice and dark, mostly like the torso, and some other stuff. But yeah, we'll just go along as we do it. There we go. There we go. All right. All right. So I'm going to take a small-sized Citadel dry brush. This is so I'm just going to load up some paint onto my brush here. You can kind of see it's got a nice green color to it, but it's very, very dark. Yeah. There we go. All right. And I'm just going to dry brush, like I said, basically the whole thing, just to kind of help bring out, you know, a little bit of his torso, a little bit of the armor and all that kind of stuff, just to give a little bit of depth before we really start to do anything with any other sorts of colors or anything like that. As you can see, I kind of did a little bit of accessorizing with him. I added like a shotgun to his back, a pistol, and they have a little piece, one of the attachments for like the hip here. It looks a lot like an armor shard from the game, like a lot. Like almost like they looked at the armor shards from you know, like Quake and Doom, and were like, hey, why don't we just, you know, throw those in there as one of the as one of the accessories. That's really, really what it looks like, which is cool. I don't know, it's just neat. There we go. That got us just a little bit warmed up for all of the green there. You can kind of start to see a little bit of green just all around him. That's what we're going for. Okay. So I think we're going to rinse that brush off. Now, the other thing that is worth noting is that if you actually look at the like the high-res models and pictures of the Doomslayer, on his right shoulder, like in between his like shoulder pad and his helmet a little bit, like on his like collarbone, I guess you could say, he's got a little bit of orange actually. So we're going to use some fire orange here. Just going to get a little bit of paint out here. You really don't need very much here at all. I got out way too much there. Didn't even need that much, but that's okay. All right, I can just use that same brush. I think that will be fine. Okay, I think that'll work out. Now, the other thing, too, is that sort of orange thing that he's got on there, it's got kind of well, I don't know, texture, I guess you could say, where it's got, like, some kind of lines going across it like this. We might do that after we let that orange paint dry, but we'll let that dry first. All right, and I think the next thing that I want to do are the boots, actually. Well, let me see here. Yeah, let's do the boots and the helmet. Now, the coloration for his boots and his helmet are actually a little bit different. Just a little bit. They're actually a little bit more of kind of like a dirtier, muddy olive kind of thing. So let's use muddy olive for the base, and we're going to coat the boots and the helmet with this muddy olive color. Maybe. Maybe? 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 There we go. Okay, there we go. All right. I think we'll be fine to use that same brush. I think I'll start with the helmet, actually, because I feel like it's going to be just a little bit more detailed, a little bit finer. So let's do that first. Okay. So there we've got the helmet there. That's got nice kind of like a darker, just different shade of green color going on there. I think that will be just fine. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and do the boots here. Tell you what, I'm going to step my brush game up a little bit. I think I'm going to move on to a slightly larger brush. I think that that's not really going to hurt anybody. Sometimes whenever you're painting, you just kind of need to consider, you know, how long it's taking to do a certain step and, you know, kind of determine what's going to be the best and most efficient use of your brushes and paints. So I'm going to use a medium base brush here. It's just a little bit of a wider brush, a little bit more surface area. It'll help me get the job done here a little bit faster, and I don't think that I'll mess up any details or anything like that along the way. I think that we'll be fine. So as I'm painting this, as I'm recording, we're coming right off of the first gameplay trailer that dropped for Rage 2. I'm really excited for that game now. I was kind of skeptical when they showed that first reveal trailer that was just like the live action trailer. For one thing, they didn't show any gameplay, which, okay, fine, whatever. It's just a teaser trailer. It's just a reveal trailer. But the thing that kind of worried me was that id's logo was nowhere to be seen in that first trailer. It was just Bethesda. So I was like, wait, who's making this game? Because, you know, to be honest, to be frank, if id Software was not actually making Rage 2, I probably wouldn't care very much. And so when they first reveal that trailer, I was like, ooh, I don't know. Okay, we'll see when the gameplay trailer drops. You know, maybe they'll reveal a little bit more. And the very first logo that came up was like Avalanche, and I was like, no! And then really quickly the id logo came up like right afterward. And I guess, yeah, it's kind of a weird thing, because I guess it's like a joint project between two really big studios. You know, the folks who made all the Just Cause games and the Mad Max game and all that, and id Software, and that's got some potential. I'm a little bit skeptical about. Actually, I've got a video talking about my thoughts on the whole thing. I'll put a link to that in the description below in case you're curious. But I was a little bit skeptical just because Avalanche has kind of a hit or miss record. I think the only really big like franchise that they have is Just Cause, which, you know, is fine. I guess the games are pretty good. Although I must confess I've never actually played any of them. But, you know, when they tried to venture into the whole dystopian post-apocalyptic future with Mad Max. I didn't love it. I did actually play a little bit of Mad Max. I actually played it for several hours worth, and I mean, it's not technically or mechanically a terrible game. It's just not a lot happens in it, and there's really no like characterization or story behind any of it, and it was just kind of like, yeah, I don't really care very much. So I'm a little bit skeptical, but you know, at the same time, if id is going to be there too, you know, I'll still give it a shot. And I really do like the tonal shift. I'm glad that they're, you know, approaching more of the sort of like zany, you know, the bright pinks and the bright yellows and the crazy, ludicrous, you know, Andrew WK style, just party and have fun kind of attitude. And I feel like that's a really good call. So yeah, I actually look forward to the game quite a bit. I'll probably talk about it a lot more, like, the closer it gets to, you know, releasing and all that, but, yeah, okay. Alright, so I've got, the Muddy Olive down for, his boots. I'm gonna go ahead and, rinse that brush off really quickly. Alright, and I think that the next thing that I want to do is actually, while I've got that, that pine green out, I am actually going to continue to use that, and we're gonna go ahead and paint, the sort of like thigh armor pieces and the chest and the pauldrons and his gauntlets. We're going to go ahead and go over that with this pine green. We're just going to go over it completely. Just trust me on this one. So that's what we're going to do next. I am still using this this medium base brush. I think that I can get away with doing this. I think it'll be fine. Okay, so I think I've got his chest and his pauldrons there. And yeah, you can see it's not a lot darker just yet, but that's okay. We were planning on that. And we're going to go ahead and go over this these kind of thigh armor pieces as well. Man, I am not good with the terminology of this stuff. You know, I actually showed... this is unrelated to miniatures or anything like that. I showed a video to my brother, who's very into... medieval weaponry and arms and armors and all that kind of stuff. It was a video of Adam Savage from Mythbusters, who apparently bought somewhere an armor suit from the Warcraft movie, and he was just kind of going over it and was like, oh wow, look at this, look at the pauldron, look at the you know, all the different things. And I guess you know, he was identifying all these armor terms, and my brother just said, nice, I'm glad that he actually understood the different terms for all of the armor pieces. And I was like, I don't know all the terms of the armor pieces, because my brother's really into that kind of stuff, so that was just kind of a fun little thing. So yeah, I don't know, when I say, yeah, let's paint this thing right here, if it's the wrong thing that I'm saying, please forgive me. Okay, so now we've got the pauldrons, as well as the thighs and the chest done. Alright, so I'm going to rinse that brush off. Alright, and while that dries, I'm going to move back to the boots really quickly. I'm going to go on to some olive green. This is just kind of like a basic green color that's got a little bit of a sort of tan sort of tint to it, and we're actually going to dry brush this over the boots and the helmet, and I think that that will give a little bit of depth to those pieces. So, I'll go back to my dry brush that I was using. I'm going to load up some paint onto that dry brush. I'm going to wipe off most of it, just because that's what dry brushing is. Okay. Yeah, you really don't need very much. And yeah, let's just dry brush the boots. Whoa, whoa, hoo, hoo, hoo. Gotta be careful. Okay. There we go, that brings a little bit of coloration to the boots, just a little bit. Alright, let's do the same thing with the helmet. There we go, that will work out just fine, I think. Yeah, alright, so I'll rinse that off. Oh, you know what? I didn't actually get the gauntlets with that forest green color. Do I want to do that? Yeah, I might as well. I mean, I forgot, but, you know, that's an oops on me. No big deal, though. Alright. There we go. That will be fine. Okay. Alright, and the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to dry brush all of the actual like plate pieces, like the chest plate and the pauldron and the gauntlets and all that, with a slightly lighter green color. This is going to be leaf green. This isn't like a bright green color or anything like that, and it's not quite as like kind of olivey as the you know, the olive green color. It's just kind of a, you know, semi dark green, and I think that this will make for really good dry brushing for the pauldron and for the cuirass, I think? Cuirass? I think that that's the name of the, like, the breastplate part of the armor. I don't know, my brother will probably correct me in the comments. Yeah. Like I said, I need to get him on my channel, actually, because, good old Mark Ridge, he's the one that, taught me pretty much everything that I know about painting miniatures, actually. I think that he's better than I am. He's been at it for a lot longer than I have. He gets into more of the like washes and that kind of stuff. So you know, he's more for like the expert level kind of thing. But yeah, I'll get him on my channel sometime, and you guys can meet him and kind of see where I got a lot of my inspiration and personality from. Yeah, we'll do that at some point. All right, but yeah, like I said, we're just dry brushing this. What was it? Leaf green? Is that the? I don't even remember. Yeah, leaf green. We're using leaf green for all of the armor pieces here. There we go. I think that he's actually coming along pretty well. He's starting to look kind of recognizable. By the way, if when you're doing this, you get a little bit of this leaf green onto the like the helmet or the boots, I wouldn't really worry too much about it. It's not going to ruin the coloration of those just a little tiny bit. So don't panic too much. If you can, you know, try not to get very much paint on there, just for the sake of practice, for the sake of, you know, better precision and all that for your mini painting in the future. But yeah, I would say that don't worry about it. I think that you'll be fine if you get a little bit of this leaf green onto the, you know, the helmet or the boots. I think that you'll be okay. Alright, and I think that that will actually do just fine. I think that that's pretty much perfect in terms of the coloration that we're looking for. Yeah, that looks great, because it's got, you know, the regular armor itself has a nice green color, and then the boots have also a little bit of green color, but just a little bit of like a pale olivey kind of tint to it, and I think that that is perfect. I really, really like that. That looks great. Okay. Alright, what I'm going to do next is that while I've got that the nice leaf color out, I'm actually going to move back to my medium Reaper round brush here, and I'm actually going to coat that one armor shard that I was talking about earlier entirely with green. And yeah, this will just kind of make it look like he's got, you know, kind of an armor shard just hanging off of his belt here. And I think that that's just kind of a nice, cool little touch. There we go, that's good. That's just a nice solid base green color for now. All right, I'm going to let that dry. And while I let that dry, I think what I'll do is I'll move on to the various kind of like brownish and leather brown kind of colors that I'm gonna be having around there. So, oh, I'm bumping into my camera. Okay, I'm gonna start with some earth brown, just a nice, this is just a good solid brown color. This is just a no-nonsense brown. That's really what this is. All right, and we're going to do a couple of things with this. The first thing that I think I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the shotgun, the good old-fashioned Doom Super Shotgun. So I imagine the base of it is going to be brown, you know, like a nice wood color. I'm not going to lie, when I was designing this miniature on that Hero Forge website, I was like, if I can't get the iconic Doom Super Shotgun, this might not be worth doing. But luckily, it's yeah, it's one of the options. It's one of the weapon options. I think it's like the Western rifle or something like that, Old West rifle or something. But Yeah, it's just a super shotgun. That's all it is. Kind of tricky to get into the inside of his hip from here. That's okay. We'll do the best we can. There we go. I think that's mostly pretty decent. Okay. Next up, he's got a little pistol holstered here. So let's do the holster of the pistol with this brown color. So now we've got the pistol holster, and we've got the super shotgun. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, for that. Okay, so that'll be fine. Rinse that off. Alright, and the next thing that I want to do is I want to do the actual pistol itself, as well as the futuristic shotgun on his back, and the barrels of the super shotgun here. So I'm going to use my good old-fashioned handy-dandy honed steel here. This is just a nice, solid, like, metallic steel, or a metallic gray steel color. So this will work out just fine. I'll use my dry brush for it, actually, because I think that's how we'll bring out some of the details in the shotgun on his back here. Let's start with the super shotgun barrels. Yeah. Okay, so that's got a nice silvery sheen for the super shotgun. Now we're going to go ahead and do the same thing with the shotgun on his back. Just going to kind of dry brush the whole thing with this honed steel color. And I think that will bring out this super fancy combat shotgun well enough. Okay, so I think that's a pretty good shotgun on his back. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to rinse off the dry brush. I won't use that for this next part. I'll actually lower my brush size just a little bit, because I do... Oh my goodness. I'm throwing brushes everywhere. Did I get anything on there? I think I'm good. Okay, so I'm going to use a small size Reap Around brush. This is a 0 scale, 0 gauge. I don't know the terminology. Brush. And I'm going to use that to paint the pistol, and I think that if I just use, you know, some finesse, and I'm just really careful, I think that this will be an effective way of doing the pistol handle and the little bit that's kind of showing out the holster here just a little bit. Yeah, it's not very much. You don't need to do a lot. There we go. That brings out the pistol just a little bit, just enough, I think. I think that will be just fine. Okay. I'll tell you what I want to do too. I want to look really quickly. Side of the super shotgun here. It looks like there's another kind of thing right here on the side. And next up, I think, you know what, I'm going to say you don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I'm just going to really lightly dry brush the wood and the holster that's showing with the super shotgun and the pistol holster. So I'm going to use my good old-fashioned leather brown color. This is my very favorite shade of brown. I really like to use it for a lot. Again, you don't have to do this if you really don't want to. I would say don't worry about it. And I'm just going to really, really quickly, really lightly just kind of dab the butt of the super shotgun and the weapon holster, just to kind of, the pistol holster here. Yeah, just to kind of bring them out. Just a little tiny bit. Just a little bit. Not much. And again, I would say that if you really don't want to do this, I don't think it's going to be the end of the world. I don't think that it's going to make a huge difference in the long run. It's just kind of me and what I like to do. I like to dry brush stuff as often as possible. I don't know, just because that's how you get some nice depth and some nice detail whenever you don't want to use washes and that kind of thing, which I tend to try not to use. Okay, that looks pretty good. That's pretty great. So at this point, now that I'm looking them over, we're just going to do all the tiny details. All right, the first thing that I'm going to start with are is I'm going to finish up that armor shard, because I think that green is nice and dried now. I'm going to move on to pretty much the lightest shade of green, or, you know, the brightest shade of green that you can get. This is going to be pale green, and I'm going to get out just a little bit of paint here. Again, you don't need very much, because, again, the armor shards, like the armor pickups in the new Doom game, they're very, very bright. They're very, very bright green, so We used a base, you know, just leaf green for the armor shard itself, and now we're going to dry brush this pale green over it. There we go, that just brings out that armor shard nice and bright. That looks like he just picked it up and put it straight onto his belt. That's kind of what that looks like. And that's what we were going for. So that's cool. That's just a nice little touch. I feel, at least. You know, if you do want to do this miniature, you certainly don't have to put that on there. You could just put like a general sort of you know, pouch or magazine holster or something like that on the side there, whatever you want to do. All right, and then the very last thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to do the eyes. Again, this is a really big, gutsy kind of thing. If you don't want to do the eyes, I would say don't worry about it. I think that you would be fine. But, you know, I'm gutsy. I like to take a lot of risks. So whenever I do my eyes, I will do just a little bit of white. And as I'm sure that you saw earlier, I left a little bit of I left some black around the eyes just because it's going to be easier to kind of contrast the eyes with the skin color. So I'm gonna get out my little itty bitty teeny tiny micro detail brush, and I'm just gonna lightly poke each eye with this pure white. That's what I'm using right now. This is just regular white. That's all that this is. There's one. Whoop. That one eye doesn't look quite, it's a little off. Yeah, that's the thing, is that there's no black separating the, I think I went a little bit too far. There's no black separating the skin from the eye there. And you can kind of see, that's why I like to have just a little bit of black separating the eye from the skin, because it just kind of, you know, you can see the white there, but yeah, I don't know, he looks a little bit more bug-eyed. There's not a contrast on the, you know, on his right side of his face compared to his left. But I think that that'll be fine. I think that that will be okay. And then for the very last thing, I'm going to dot those eyes with some pure black. Again, very, very small amount. All right, going to use the same brush after I rinsed it off. He looks a little cross-eyed there, actually, a little derpy. All right. Yeah, it's not perfect, but that's okay. I think that that will do just fine. And I think, do I really want to do anything else? I think not. I think that's going to do it. All right. Now, I am very particular about this miniature. I want to make sure that he gets preserved as well as possible. So I'm going to go over him with a varnish. So I'm just going to get out, you know, just any kind of brand that you prefer here, just, you know, matte varnish here, just to kind of go over the whole thing here. Get a little bit out. A little bit more. That's fine. Okay. And I don't think it's really going to matter what kind of brush you use. I'm just going to use a really big old nasty brush here that's not really good for any detail or anything like that. Just kind of doing this sort of thing like this is just varnish it. So let's just go over all of the miniature with this varnish, and that will kind of help to add an extra like kind of layer of protection. You know, add a little bit to the lifespan of the miniature. That's what we're going for. All right, I'm gonna let him dry before I move on to final touches and photos and afterthoughts and all that stuff. All right, and I think after letting him dry after some time, I think that that will about do it. So there you go. That's a very custom job, but a custom-made Doom Slayer there. So thank you everybody for watching. I think that's going to mostly wrap up all of the Doom miniatures that I'm going to do for a little while. Yeah, again, thank you everybody for watching. If you want to see more miniatures being painted, if you want to see more nerdy hobby board game stuff, I'm going to get back into some Doom board game content at some point. I got some ideas for some variant rules and some other stuff like that, so I kind of wanted to talk about those a little bit. Yeah, if you want to see more of that kind of stuff, go and subscribe to my channel. You know, actually, you know, this is going to be, consider this a teaser. I actually used Hero Forge to create another hero from a classic id property. Not sure if it's really considered an id property or what. But I'll just let you sit on that, so I'll do that at some point in the future. But I'm going to leave it at here. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next time on Let's Paint a Mini.